I have another meeting in progress.
Hey folks, I'm in a new setup. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mike.
Great, thanks, Brad.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Rosalie.
Hey, I gotta turn this light off. I look like a whoo. That's better.
Hey, did you happen to see that post that Amy O'Sullivan's got that 1-bedroom condo that she sold that's full of furniture, and the new owner doesn't want the furniture, that whoever can get there to just take it all away, it's theirs for the taking.
Yeah, no, I gotta.
I mean, it's not luxurious stuff, but it looks fairly new, and I didn't.
We'll have to see. Okay, so yeah, We Care doesn't have a furniture ministry anymore. That was a really difficult one to always do because they had the space, but they didn't have the manpower because it takes strong young men to move furniture.
Sure.
And so we used to have one and it was excellent. And we would have been over there in 30 seconds. We had the response team. We didn't have the muscle. So, and that was a couple years ago. So I guess what I would do, I mean, I will check in with one of my sources that I work with privately.
Okay.
And then I'm going to probably suggest to Amy just to call, it's not Lakeshore anymore, but it's a faith-based, and they'll pick it up.
Yeah, she reached out to a couple of them, and people want to pick and choose what they want, and she just wants the whole. It's not like she's getting rid of junk. It's not like she's asking somebody to clean this apartment.
I'm going to text my person right now.
Alrighty.
So is it a 1-bedroom? You said a 1-bedroom?
Yeah, it's a 1-bedroom condo. I mean, there's bedroom, living room, the whole setup.
All right, let me do it because I'm sure she knows somebody. Like I had said, and there's other folks on the line. I don't care. Some folks can go to Lakeshore and afford it. And just so you all know, We Care will give you a $50 voucher, and you can work there to earn more money. So
cool.
It's always a good thing. However, there's people that can't do that.
Right.
And they need extra help. That family that we just worked with, this was her first house in a year. She was a mom with 3 girls. She had nothing. She was homeless.
Right.
And we furnished it. So, and that was through my contact. So I'm gonna email her because she's got her ear to the ground. So thank you for telling me that. No, I've not been online at all, hardly. So, who's decorated the downtown? Don't we have new decorations on the light post? Those are different colors now. Or have I lost a year? Anybody?
No.
There was the big brouhaha about the lights, right? So somebody put a lot of money in and bought the yellow lights, and everybody hated the yellow lights. And all those people that donated a lot of money got really PO'd. Then the next year, all the lights were changed and they were the bright white lights.
Now they're blue, aren't they?
What?
Are they blue this year, I think?
No. And then we had the awful blue. And then now they're multicolored. So
Little diversity in lighting is all.
I like it. We're reflecting a diverse community. Finally, like a diverse community.
I just want to do a sound check. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear, George.
All right,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
I'll put myself on mute, I guess.
Me too.
You're looking good tonight, Michael. Smile. Ha ha. Am I smaller than usual? I'm on a phone instead of a computer.
You are smaller than usual, but you're a giant of a
Yeah.
man, Larry. So
Thank you. My computer is in the computer hospital.
the camera's really good on what? It must be an iPhone. What are you using? Is it a?
No, it's
Hmm.
it's an old Samsung. Way back in
Resolution's great.
7.2. But yeah,
Really,
it's
it
sharp.
does look great. I'm going to ask, I've got, that radio show I do, in 2 weeks, I've got to find folks that have new traditions because of COVID. And I want to put them on the radio for a few minutes, like, any new traditions for Christmas that you have to try out since your old traditions are not available. So anybody know of anybody off the top of your heads? I know that on Facebook, Wendy and Jen Sistrunk, they're trying some new things. And so, because they have kids, for one thing. And so, yeah, if you hear of anything. And then my last show for the year, because we're going to be leaving Moondog, is on being grateful. So if you know somebody that's willing to share a story of being grateful, and not, I mean, we're all, I'm assuming you are, but I know I'm grateful every day, but that has a story maybe to back that up. So think about it. If you know anybody, let me know. So it's my 52nd show. So that I've coordinated. So, and then I'm switching to a new show and starting all over again. But yeah, I want to finish the year off being grateful, I think.
Hey, Travis, did you get the microphone set up?
Yep. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're kind of quiet. I was just wondering.
Okay. I don't know if it'll reach all the way back.
It won't.
Table, but
There you go. Wheel the TV closer.
there we go.
The sound better now?
Much better.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know that cord's only about, what, about 24, 25 inches long? It's not very long.
Yeah. And I was trying when I set up the room earlier to get us as far back as possible so that we weren't smushed up on top of the TV. But yeah, this works. But yeah, I knew we had to get that close to us as well. So.
Yeah, that's all right. You guys aren't so close that we can see up your nose or anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Mike, you don't have your ice skate tonight. What happened?
I thought I'd try and be a little bit more realistic. So I got relegated to the basement today, though. This is my basement little
Okay.
area. So.
Well, I can.
I'm not ready.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to tell Tim I'm not ready to see that ice quite yet. So.
I was just going to say, and maybe some of you will find humor in this, is with my rheumatoid arthritis, I have nodules on my throat and on my vocal cords. And that's what makes my voice so bad. And I have an opportunity to have them removed. And if it is successful, and they won't do it unless they really think they can really remove them. But if it is successful and they remove them, I can't talk for like 3.5 weeks. So if you find any humor in that, my husband does. I'll have to sign language. I'll learn sign or something for 3 weeks.
Rosalie, when do you anticipate that'll happen? Will you be out? For
You know,
one of the
I'm not going to plan it until probably February. Only because I want to get through, I just think these next couple of months are just so wonky and awful. And, going into a hospital right now, I don't know if it really, and it's not urgent, but my voice will continue to get worse. So I will just pick a month. I have, and try to look at that month. I've got to start this new radio show with Teresa Getman on Cozy. So I don't want it to be January. I've got to at least get it going before. And if he can't operate, then he won't, and I can talk. Yay. So, yeah. But I don't want to miss anything.
voice
with
problem
Glenn.
and you're starting a radio show.
Yeah, well, we've been on Rob Bird's Moondog Saturday morning for the last year. I just am planning my 52nd episode. And then we switched to Cozy Proper on Friday mornings. And we're resurrecting the Breakfast Club that was done years past. And Teresa Getman is finding her sponsors. And then she's going to kind of bring a little bit more health and wellness into the program. I still will be scheduling nonprofits and organizations that do good work. So we've kind of, not that we've moved up, but we've certainly moved into a bigger market. And also they do a lot of the work that I've been doing, which is really, really nice for me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent. All right, looks like we're at 7 o'clock. So we'll start the meeting and I'll call the Thursday, December 3rd Planning Commission meeting to order. First up, we'll have a roll call, and is Marcia doing that, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Clark Gruber,
Clark?
is Clark out there?
Got a new computer, so I had to find the mute, sorry.
Oh, okay. Larry Heineck,
Here,
Todd Heinrich,
here,
Michael Neese,
Here?
Amy Nichols,
Here?
Rosalie Placati,
Here,
George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Barney,
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, we'll have the approval of the agenda.
It's George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
second.
It's Mike Neese, second.
Oh, sorry. Whatever.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes,
Heineck,
yes,
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes?
Nichols,
Yes.
Placati,
Yes,
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Now we'll move on to item 4, which is the approval of the minutes from the November 5th regular meeting.
Rosalie, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 5, 2020 regular meeting.
Todd Heinrich, support.
Been moved and supported to approve the November 5th meeting minutes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we will again call the roll.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
yes,
Heineck,
yes,
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes?
Nichols,
Yes.
Placati,
Yes, yes,
Stegman.
Yes. Next item is item 5. Interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. And I don't think we have anybody logged in that's an interested citizen, do we?
Looks like it.
Okay, seeing none, we'll look at old business, which I'm just gonna point out, it says none, which is nice. And then we'll move into new business, which is item 6, 12 Streamwood Drive Seawall Site Plan Application Review. And Brad, I think you'll be the one that'll introduce this, correct?
Yeah, I can tee this off. Mr. Richard Arnett, resident at the Bluffs of South Haven Condominium Association, his address is 12 Streamwood, so that is why the application has that address. They've applied for both a Harbor Commission and a Planning Commission review for the installation of a revetment structure along 490 linear feet of their shoreline on the bluffs on the south side of town. What this project proposes to do is excavate approximately 630 some yards of cubic yards of soil and use it to allow a place for tow stone to be installed. That will be backfilled then on top of the lower end of the bluff, and in armor stone of 3 to 5 feet thick of riprap will be laid over top of that. All underneath will be a filter fabric, and then the remaining excavated material will be distributed across the site. The project is approximately they would like to install another 127 cubic yards of 12 to 24 inch tall rock at the top for a splash zone. And all construction that is being proposed on this particular site would be off on ship or on barge from the lake itself. So it would not be traveling over over the land through the association or any other areas around it. So I don't know if if Mr. Arnett is here at the meeting today. It was approved by the Harbor Commission back on, let me see the date. I believe it was the 17th of November. And I think we tried to include the minutes from the Harbor Commission meeting into this packet.
Yes,
So,
we do have.
okay.
it.
Okay, good.
Okay, are there any questions about this item 6? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Commissioner, I've not a question, but I would like to enter some things in the record here, make a comment about this with your indulgence. And I'm going to read it because I had to think long and hard about this, having made a couple site visits. I do fully expect that the commission will approve the armoring project. Eagle and the Harbor Commission have given their blessing, and we've consistently approved other projects on the shoreline, so we'll do the same for this property. I've got empathy for the property owners, went out on my site visit and understand their desire to protect their investment. I will, however, be voting no, even though I recognize that's more symbolic than substantive. I learned in my days in the world of business that sometimes products fail in the marketplace after huge investments, often with money and people. Factories that employ hundreds and even thousands at times need to be shuttered. And I once heard an auto executive invoke a Turkish proverb as he announced the cancellation of a vehicle and the accompanying assembly plant. And that proverb says, no matter how far you've gone down the wrong road, turn back. We, along with our planning partners in Casco Township, have been attending the workshops on coastal resiliency sponsored by LEA. I have become convinced through these meetings that armoring is our wrong road. The science shows that this is a temporary Band-Aid that permanently harms the Lake Michigan shoreline, the public trust beaches, and potentially the tourism economy with the loss of community beaches. Of course, the difficulty is when we do our site visits, we can see the immediate and urgent concern of at the property, but we don't have a clear line of sight as you look out in the future. Indeed, most of these projects, as I did my research, were being built at a time when the lake was at a very low level, and we had what Dr. Meadows of LEA calls it, big fat happy beach, but no more. LEA says as we look ahead, we should plan on losing 1 foot of shoreline a year. So once again, we're in a position of choosing urgent over important. I'm going to be casting my vote on the important this time. Revetment work, according to LEA, scours the sand off the adjacent property and worse, creates currents that push sandbars farther offshore. What that means is any sand that we hope one day will replenish the beach is lost. Drone footage shows prior revetments that we've approved, that work being gobbled up by Lake Michigan, creating possible future navigation hazards, and the loss of our sandy bottom lake that our beach goers really love. LEA said, or I should say, Dr. Meadows said, the more you armor, the more you starve the sand supply. Eagle calls out in their approval. If you read through the approval, twice called out to the folks they were granting the permit to, that damage to the adjacent properties is likely to be subject to civil damage litigation. So even though they approved it, they sent out a couple little warnings there going, hey, if there's damage, you're going to pay for it. Of course, we've not seen any litigation to date, but how long is it going to be before an adjacent property does sue for the cost of their revetment work that they will have to do as a result of what their neighbors have done? It's not an acceptable solution, merely something that buys time. Again, I'm voting no, and I'm almost finished here. There are alternatives. In the presentations, we discussed 3 of them: armoring, which is what we're discussing here, nourishing with the sand dunes from dredging, and relocating, moving the structures away from the lake. Only one of those, according to the research at LEA, acknowledges the inevitable, Mother Nature. I do understand that some of our lakeshores properties are on lots that are too small to relocate the structures. Certainly the work we did with the folks on Monroe Boulevard, there's no way they can move their property. But where relocation is possible, it should be considered as more beneficial than armoring. Lastly, these permits place us in the position of weighing private gain over the public trust. Quoting the Michigan Association of Planners, in Michigan, local governments have the sole authority to manage the waterfront land use through planning and zoning. The same beaches, dunes, and views of the Great Lakes sought by the people in the market for private waterfront property are prized by community residents who don't live on the water and visitors from other parts of Michigan and the country. We have some obligation to the property owners because we issued permits to build the structures in the first place. What mitigation we approve, however, comes at a cost, that cost being a loss of natural shoreline and the public trust beaches. I believe we as a city commission must be a strong advocate for the common good, the public trust, not always the private gain. We're also stewards of our local economy. The beach and the lake must be protected. As I read in this report, one of the lines stood out to me that says, we must remember that people come to South Haven for the beaches, not for our beach houses. South Beach has already suffered both the loss of beach, a tremendous loss of beach, and quite frankly, even though we're not talking about it, we've lost a great deal of aesthetic beauty when we've had to put up the necessary flood protection. It just doesn't look nice. Increasingly, I think visitors are going to look at the north side options, and this may impact revenues downtown. I think it's reasonable to assume traditional South Beach, at some point we must plan and prevent rather than just approve more Band-Aids. We will be the first planning commission to vote on approvals since our last meeting with Leah. I'm certain our decision will be discussed on the December 8th joint meeting with Casco. Perhaps we are the canary in the coal mine. I wish we could count on leadership from the state, but it appears they cannot or will not act. As I understand, there is legislation being considered in the Senate at this point, but it's not supported by the directors of Eagle or the executive branch. It's not going anywhere. This issue is obviously rife with conflict, but I think we have to have the courage to confront it. Again, I will vote no with the full expectation that we will approve this permit. I'd hate to have any given landowner be the person that has to pay the price. So I think it's reasonable that we'll continue to approve what we've started. But at some point, we have to say enough, because what we're doing in the immediate is going to cost our children and our grandchildren the chances to use the public beaches, and it's going to affect our economy downtown. Thanks.
Okay, is anybody gonna make a motion that Mike's gonna vote no on? Larry,
Larry's trying to
I
talk.
see- I see you speaking, but I can't hear you. Still
I
can't
don't
hear
know.
you.
It doesn't say he's muted.
No, and you're not muted, so I don't know. Do you have your mic covered or? Now it's muted. Now it's back on, but we still cannot hear you.
We could hear him before.
Yeah.
He may need to go out and come back into the meeting.
Possibly. In the meantime, is anybody else willing to consider making a motion?
I would like to make a comment,
Okay.
Janice. I agree with Mike's statements, especially since we've had our training recently. And I've been concerned about this for some time as far as the revetments go along our lake shore. And I'm passionate about public access to our beaches. I did notice that this was built in a high-risk erosion area, A2 it says. And I guess that permit was approved at some point where these houses indeed were built there. The other thing I did notice when I went out to see the project is that the 3 homes that they said that were impacted really were quite a distance away from the bluff, but I understand they want to protect some of the property there. I also was curious about any impact to the owners of adjacent property. If we haven't heard from that, or if they have indeed been contacted about that. I'm assuming they have been, and that they would be speaking now. But I think Mike made a really good point about the Eagle permit. The Eagle permit does say that that any infraction upon neighboring property is a civil infraction. I'm also concerned about dredging beyond the required toe-in of the new revetment, and also any of the rubble or the stone that's going to be used. What I am seeing as I'm walking the lake shore, and I do it daily, is that those that have these revetments and the armoring, the boulders start falling down, and they start falling into, and they start falling further and further into the lake. So then where is the demarcation of where the toe hole is and where the new revetment or the reconstruction is to be placed? I'm afraid that we will see more encroachment into the lake as these boulders slide into the lake, and therefore public passage in the future will not be accessible. So the Eagle also said, you know, the size of the boulder, and they have quite a few guidelines there. I hope that we're going to be following. Also, the Drain Commission talked about soil erosion and sediment, and how we need to control that during this time, because I also see that as a detriment. So what I agree with Mike. Until we get our arms around this, until we work for the common good of our community, and what we're seeing along our lake shore in terms of erosion and our sands leaving, I'm very concerned about this. But I think we have to build this in to our ordinances, and it is a local issue. It's not an Eagle issue. It's not a state issue. It's a local issue. And it's something that we are obligated as planning commissioners to look into, and to look at the science behind it, to look what's happening to our shores, and to look at the economic impact of what's happening as a result of that. Thanks.
Larry, are you audio?
I am back. I am back. Can
Okay.
you hear me now?
I can hear you.
You can hear. Thank you. I think Michael has well said what we now know. I would just like to add one thing. This property is in what we know as our high-risk erosion area A2, the most sensitive part of our embankment along our shoreline. Looking at the aerial photo and the dimensions that are on there, we would not today issue a permit to build this house. I have to question why we would even be approving anything to protect it if it's so close to the embankment that we would not allow one to be built. I don't know where the top of that bluff was back in 2001, 2002, when these units were built. But today they couldn't be built. And I kind of agree with Michael. It's time we took a stand. We have the tools in our ordinance to put into use what we have learned. I think it's time to do that.
Anybody else?
Yes, this is Todd. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I spent most of my career in docks and harbors. My father, in my father's footsteps, he put in many, many miles of steel sheet piling all around Michigan. At the end of his career, he had seen enough of his stuff that he had installed in the 50s and 60s and 70s fail, that he referred to all steel sheet piling as temporary structures. These are 1/4 and 3/8 inch thick steel sheet piling. In Lake Michigan, everything is a temporary structure. The houses, the bluffs, it's, as Mike said, it's moving back a foot a year on average. The primary source of beach nourishment is bluff erosion. That's where most of our beaches come from. When we protect the bluffs from being eroded, we're stopping the natural nourishment of beaches. And yeah, I agree with Mike and others that have spoken that this probably has to come down to local people starting to say no. I've said yes to many requests like this in the past. And I think I'm going to say no to this one. I'm curious as to what the ramifications of that will be. I don't think that we have much say in this. I think that we will be overruled on a legal standpoint. But we have to start sending property owners a message that this can't go on. That's my comment.
Any other comments or anybody willing to make a motion?
Yeah, I guess I'll add one thing, Tim. I do think we have an option here that we could also entertain. We have our next meeting. Our next joint meeting is on the 8th. At that time, they're supposed to give us our assessment of locally what's happening on our shoreline. That was where we left the last meeting. So we should get that new information. So another option is to table this until we've had an opportunity to look at that further information and reconsider it once we have that data as well. I'm saying no based on the science as I understand it now. I know there are people that disagree with the science, but it's the best I know at this point, and we may learn something different on the 8th. So that's an option as well.
Rosalie?
Yeah, it might be beneficial, Mr. Chair, to do a straw poll. I know that I did those in Illinois. I don't know if y'all do them in Michigan, but when a huge thing like this comes up where big decisions have to be made, I support obviously what's been spoken here. I think, we have 30 years of data now, and you can't wish that away. So whether we table it or we vote, Michael, I think you might have been wrong with thinking that this is going to pass. I think you've got the majority of the votes right now. So, Mr. Chair, sometimes it's good to do a straw poll. I don't know. It's up to you, but.
Well, at this time, a straw poll, being this is an agenda item, you can't do a straw poll. That's more for a discussion. So that would be a misuse of that tool.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Clark?
Yeah, I concur that, we're learning a lot of new things that and how we probably need to deal with the shoreline. But right now, even if we had another meeting, I think that needs to come out through council. We've worked on actually even this project, in the Streamwood Drive, that area on more than one project within their subdivision has been approved. So, I would be willing to make a motion to approve the site plan for the shoreline protection structure at 12 Streamwood Drive, as long as they also meet I think the recommended condition number 1 on the permitting, I think it's the right way to go to approve this project now, because we've approved these projects all over, until we can come up with a long-term solution that we can then have direction from council on what to do. I think that we've had some good comments tonight. I think that's the future of where we're going to go, but I just don't think we're ready to go there yet. And I don't think council could move quick enough to come up with the recommendations of how to proceed that direction. So I would support this project.
Okay, so you did make a motion to approve?
I did, with the condition number 1.
Okay. Is there support for Clark's motion?
This is Todd, I support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? I guess now that we have motion on the floor, I'll make a couple comments. Took a couple notes when Mike was speaking, and let's see if I can put them all together. You talked about private and public use, and what that reminded me of was growing up around here in the 70s and 80s. I was witness to many homes sliding off into the lake, and also the stretch of road that goes north from South Haven, and it used to go to Saugatuck. A chunk of that fell in, and now you have to detour around. So sometimes when I start thinking about what's going on here, one, if you don't allow some of these shoreline homeowners to protect their property, at some point that property is going to be off the tax roll, which is not a common good for the community, as Janice put it. I mean, it's a little different twist on your statement, but nonetheless, it's a loss in revenue. And two, depending on where the erosion's the worst, and I'll just say, let's look at the Blue Stair area, where Monroe Boulevard is relatively close to the beach, and the further you go south, or maybe even North Shore Drive, the shoreline gets closer to Monroe Boulevard. Now, at some point, if you let all the homes slide in, the city is either going to have to pay for protection so the road, we don't lose that and all the infrastructure that's under that road, or you let the homeowners pay out of their own pockets and the city gets the overall benefit that the road's protected further down the road. And if the road's 100 foot from the water's edge, and like you said, you're losing a foot a year, you bought yourself 100 years plus if the rocks go in. So just a couple different ways to look at this. You know, the common good is having individuals pay out of their pocket to protect their property interests before you have to pay for the city's interest in its road work, which parallels the lake shore. So that's my thought. Anybody else have any further discussion before I call a vote?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Larry Heinig again. I keep hearing mentioned a foot a year. That's the average around the entire lake shore. We're talking about a high risk erosion area, which is at least 3 times that, if not more. So don't think a foot a year, think more.
Right. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Larry there. I guess I offered that only as a point of reference that says, look, you know, we even a foot a year, we can't look into our crystal ball and see that as apparent as we can see the immediate danger to some of the bluff areas. I do think this is a little different situation. As Janice brought up, and I didn't bring up, it was in my notes, but I made 2 visits out to the site and took a look. Those homes are not in imminent danger of falling into the lake. The homes on Monroe, they were. And we have time. We have time to come up with a more thorough look at our position on what we're going to do with these bluff projects. before these houses are in any danger. So I think it's a little different situation, and that's why I do feel comfortable voting no, because I think there's time. I think there's time to do some mitigation.
Okay. Anybody else? George?
Yeah, I think everyone's made some really good points. The only thing I was going to say is that I think long-term, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to capture these things from a prevention standpoint before they're even built, and prevent houses from being built that are going to need protection later on down the road. So, but I think in this case here, I think we're going to have to, I feel anyway, inclined to approve this, just because I think that the homes are built and precedent has already been set. And if I were the property owners and I met all the requirements, I would think that my project should get approved just like everyone else's project. So that's it.
Okay. Amy?
I second what George said. I think it's kind of, well, I agree completely with Mike, and I agree with the science, and I understand exactly where we should be. We have set this precedence, and this homeowner made this application with good faith, knowing where our precedence was before this. And I don't know, I just feel like we can't say no now. But we can make it a point to say, now we need to change this direction a little bit, like, yeah, this is it. This is the line in the sand, so to speak. And now we need to go on and change the way we think about this from here forward.
Hey.
If I may ask just another question, and Brad, you might know this, Tim, you might know this as well, but have we any kind of estimate of how many other properties within the city are going to be coming to us for revetment work? Is how much is left of the lakeshore that needs this revetment work? If that's going to be the standard, that once we did it, we got to do it for all, what do we need to prepare for here?
Well, if we keep getting these storms with 18-foot waves, who knows?
No, Tim, what I'm asking is how much property needs the revetment? How much lakefront property is out there that is likely to come to us asking for the same permit?
I don't know if Brad has an answer for that right now, and if he doesn't, we can ask him to take a look at the aerial map and maybe do some highlighting of what's been protected, and that'll show us the other areas. But I don't know, Brad.
Yeah, well, and it's a good point that you're bringing up, Mike, because this is into hazard mitigation planning in the future. Is looking at what has been approved in the past and still existing, what is being built right now, and how much more is out there that hasn't been done yet. And we can actually, there has been a lot of studies around that has calculated this and mapped it aerially so we can see where it is. And we have the capability of doing that in the city. There's also studies that go out and actually calculate the costs either to the city itself and how much, the outlay would have to go towards trying to do that if it ended up in public expense, or how much it would cost the private homeowners to do so. So there are lots of different plans out there that do that. Right now, we don't have anything like that set up in the city. But it would be a beneficial thing to look into doing, to, like you said, kind of put forward a future preventative, attitude towards it, instead of trying to, okay, we're just going to patch it over and over and over and over again. Larry's been pointing a lot about this high risk erosion zone. I'm not sure exactly how familiar you all are exactly what that term means. I mean, it's very obvious sounding. It's very high risk erosion area, but there's two areas in the city of South Haven, A1 and A2. Those are defined by the state of Michigan. So the only thing that we do in the city of South Haven right now is we follow what the state of Michigan guidelines are, and that's A1, A2. It was a part of the Environmental Protection Act back in 1994. So that's how long ago this has been in. And there's two categories in there. In A2, they have what they call a 30-year setback timeline and then a 60-year setback. In A2, meaning the 30 years, it began in 1994 and ends 4 years from now. Anytime from then, a home needed to be built back, a permanent structure needed to be built back a minimum of 155 feet from that bluff line, because they knew that that's a higher risk than A1 and it's going to erode a lot faster. After in 4 years, once we pass this 4-year mark and we get into the next 30-year period, the minimum setback requirement is 295 feet. I mean, that's almost a football field away from the edge of the bluff. So that's quite that's deeper than a high majority of the parcels that are even located along the lake shore down there.
Absolutely.
So, it's definitely something to look into. And I try right now when people do submit building permits or, hey, we want to tear down a home here and split a lot and we're thinking about building a house, I have to explain this over to them all the time, that you are in an area that's going to in high risk and you are going to have to build that house 250 feet back from the line, which almost makes it impossible to do so. So it is difficult for some people, and a lot of people are shocked when we tell them that stuff. But unfortunately, all we have right now is just those state guidelines to go off of. But it is the Planning Commission and the City Council's job to think about, furthering future prevention methods through policy and then placing it into, like Larry said, the zoning ordinance. So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Anything else before we go to a vote?
Oh, one last thing. I promise it's the last. I have to say I am a little concerned. I'm worried about when we always default to precedents. Things do change. Past precedence is the way that planning happens by default, not by design. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and go, oh my goodness, look at where we're at. Change occurs. We didn't count on what's happening to the Lake Bluff. It's a question of, I guess it's a question we have to ask ourselves, who's going to pay the cost of that change? And it's not just the financial cost. Tim makes some good points, but it's not just that. It's the ability to walk down the lake shore. It's the ability, when I moved here, you could start at South Beach, walk past, just take a walk almost all the way to the power plant. And we did that often. And now we can't make it even past the Blue Stairs. That's going to impact how attractive we are as a tourist location. That's going to impact just our own personal enjoyment of the lake. So I get it. And like I said, I don't think it's fair that we point out to one particular resident that says, okay, you're going to be the one that we say no to. But at some point, precedent has to be challenged. Or we'll all, as Dr. Deming said, some of you that know the work of Dr. Deming, if we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got. And that's exactly where we're at with this. So I'm still voting no.
Yeah, I'll just follow up with this. I have attended some hydrology lectures, and they've talked about the erosion, and if you let it run its course long enough, what they predict, and these were some guys out of University of Michigan, is that 1,000 years down the road, or whatever the date was, Michigan would be an island because the bottom would erode out around the Indiana border area. So on arrested erosion, eventually the state will decrease in size. That's just the natural progression. So anyway, now that we have that useful tidbit of information, and if nobody has any other discussion, we'll go to a vote. And once again, Clark had made the motion to approve the site plan application for 12 Streamwood Drive with, what was your caveat?
Just recommendation number 1 here from staff.
Okay. Everybody clear? All right, with that, Marcia, please call the roll.
Licati,
Lucky me, no.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
No,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No,
Heinrich,
No,
Neese,
No,
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. It's a 5-4 vote, correct, Marcia?
Four
That it does
yes,
not pass?
4 yes and 5 no.
Okay. All right. On the heels of that, before we go to the next item, Brad, if we wanted to see a, what would we call it, a mitigation map that would include like the constructed areas, the under construction areas, and the unimproved for the city limit shoreline? Would that be relatively easy for our map guy to put together, do you think, or?
Yeah, I think Ryan could whip that up pretty easy, and I could go back with him and we could review all the applications that have been approved over the last year and a half to figure out what's been put in recently. And then also just, looking at the aerials or taking a walk up the beach or whatever, just to, make sure all the individual sections are recorded properly. But yeah, we could definitely whip that up in a short period of time.
Okay, and it, as long as it doesn't take a huge ton of staff time, otherwise I'd ask George to ask council to make that request rather than from us. But however it works.
Yeah, Ryan could take care of that pretty quickly.
Okay.
He's a pretty quick guy. He's a pretty quick guy with that GIS stuff.
Right. Yeah.
He knows it inside and out.
He does very well. Okay. Now we'll move on to the discussion of the master planning tourism study. Mike had requested that we talk about this. So Mike had forwarded some information which was put into this agenda, and I'm sure everybody's had a chance to review it. And
We
Mike,
missed agenda item number 7.
Just the meeting dates.
oh, the meeting dates, you're right.
Yes.
I skipped that. All right, so I'll backtrack, strike the rest of that, Marcia. We have the Planning Commission 2021 meeting dates for item 7, and the dates are February 7th, or January 7th, February 4th, March 4th, April 1st, May 6th, June 3rd, July 8th, which is the second Thursday of July due to the holiday, August 5th, September 2nd, October 7th, November 4th, and December 2nd. So unless anybody has any major problems with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve those dates for 2021.
Mr. Chairman, Heinig here. I move that we approve the dates for 2021 meetings as printed.
Gruber will second.
Been moved and supported to approve the 2021 meeting dates as written and voiced by me. And is there any other discussion? Marcia, please call the roll.
Neese,
yes,
Nichols,
Yes.
Cotty,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
yes,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes,
Heinrich,
yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, so everybody put in their calendars next year's meeting dates. And speaking of that, do we have any terms expiring this year? Do we know that, or we need to look that
We
up?
do. I'd have to look at look at the chart. There's, I believe it's 3 of them.
3?
But I'd have to look to make sure.
Okay. Council's gonna approve, or if anybody on here wants to stay and for applications.
Yeah, and we will start reaching out usually about the first part of January. We'll put a notice in the newspaper and we'll post it on the website that there's the upcoming openings, and then we'll reach out to each of the staff liaisons. So I'll reach out to anybody who's got an expiring term. And
Okay.
ask you about your interest in being reappointed. So
Excellent. Okay, now we can move on to item 8, which is discussion of the planning for tourism study. And Mike had requested we talk about this. You do have some cursory information in the packet. And Mike, since you asked for it, why don't you give us a little opening?
I shall, Tim. And again, I don't want to tie us up a lot on this. I'm cognizant of what time of day it is, but I thought the article really did speak to me in terms of the issues that we're facing looking forward with our heavy emphasis on tourism. I must admit, the other thing that occurred to me when I was reading it is we also have an new economic strategy looking forward, a strategic plan, as well as a master plan. And I saw how these 3 different approaches align with one another. And so it just occurred to me, I'd really love to hear what you all think in terms of being a planning commission. And you've heard me rail on this, and I'm sorry, but I mean, I would so love for us to get into a position of anticipating and preventing problems rather than being the group that always has to find the Band-Aid for them. And I think to do that, we have to take a look at research, believe it if we want to, argue about it if we don't, but have that as a baseline as we move forward as a planning commission. So what I did, I went to the article again. And by the way, this was not the article in the magazine. I went to the website and looked at the full study. I left a link for you there if you're so interested in doing so. And I just walked through it and listed the questions that came up in my mind as I walked through it. And my suggestion is how we would proceed tonight is just to very quickly run through those sections. Ask for any other input. I'm sure, like I said, I would love to see what you're all thinking about it in terms of moving forward as we look at our use of tourism and our future in tourism in South Haven, if that makes sense.
So when I'm looking at this, there's a few sentences in red at the bottom of the first page, and those are your questions?
Yes. Those were, as I was going through the material, those are the questions that occurred to me that I'd like to get a sense of where you're all at on this as well. For instance, if we can take one just as a trial here, on section 2 there, tourism as an economic and community development tool, those 2 red questions actually relate to the diagram that you'll see down below it in terms of both the positive and negative impacts of you having a tourism-based economy. And I'm not sure that I even know where some of you stand on this, whether you see these as positive or negatives that are impacting us, and how that impacts how we do business together as a commission. So I hope you had a chance to look at that table, and I guess I'd leave it open to anybody to make a comment on whether they agree, disagree, whether it has implications for us as we're moving forward. Certainly, I found things in the economic section of that table of the impact of tourism. You know, my thing that I look at, I know we have, I think 25 goals. I think it's 25, might be 35, but 25 goals in the master plan. But there are a number of them that we own as a planning commission under economic development. And some of the bullet points that I saw there in the positive and negative under the impacts of tourism spoke to me. Primarily, the thing that really touches me the most is the whole idea of affordable housing. And I agree that one of the negatives that jumped out at me here is that tourism can cause inflation and real estate speculation. I don't know if you read the paper on Sunday, but the average price of a home sold in South Haven in October was $527,564, up 71% from last year. That's not affordable housing. Now that's the average, but even more important, if you look at median price of housing, the median price of a house sold in October this year was $355,000, up 65% from last year. I would argue that's not affordable housing either. And I think there is cause and effect in some of the points here listed under the negatives, the impact of tourism if we're not careful about how our decisions we make in zoning and future land use impact that. And are we getting to a point that we're making it nearly impossible to come up with affordable housing in the city of South Haven? And I guess it didn't touch you the same way it touched me as I'm looking at your faces. But.
No, I do. If I could speak next, no.
Sure. Are you finished, Mike, for now?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Rosalie.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. No, I agree. This spoke to me, and I don't think it would come as any surprise to you guys. I've brought up a couple of things, but what I really took note of is encouraging the positive while mitigating the negative. I think we almost have to change our narrative, because every time we do something to mitigate the negative, like let's just take golf carts. There has just been a lot of chatter that it's overreach of the government, that why can't you just leave people be? My point is that, you know, everything we've been doing along with the planning and even with this, the latest revetment request has been a Band-Aid to fix something. It often comes as negative. It's perceived as negative. We're perceived as an enemy. And I'm under no illusion, you know, that of course we want to encourage the positive. So I think this is helpful. It was helpful to me, and I really appreciate you, Mike, for doing this. Is to keep this in the forefront. There are ways to encourage the positive and still get done what we need to get done on the flip side. And that is to continue with our efforts on affordable housing. That is to continue our capping of short-term rentals, which I'm not done yet. But we almost have to change our attitude to convince our population, our residents, that both can happen. You know, we've come up, like much of the country, is an either or. You're either for tourism, you're against tourism, you're either the good guy or the bad guy. If you have anything negative to say, you're beat up right away in that, you know, you're taking away, and that's all we have. And so I think that I really would love to change almost our attitude, our narrative, that no, we encourage the positive. Of course we do. We know where we're at. The city is beautiful. I can't stop taking pictures of where I am, you know, because it's just so stinking beautiful. And I've been here only 10 years. So, but we very much have to take a look at the negative. That's why we're in the positions that we're in. That's why leadership, George, Clark, that's why y'all go into leadership at the council level is to really to take a whole a look. So, you know, and I think there's a lot of folks that kind of believe this. You know, they want to mitigate the negative, but they're almost afraid to, or feel it's an overreach or ruining the beauty we have. I just really liked this, and I think it is our responsibility. It's in the master plan, and we have amazing tools to draw back on. So I think we should keep this up and make sure we are encouraging the positive. And this commission has done amazing work, just even with our short-term rental ordinance that took so much work. We got it done, you know, and I know some of you are more tired about it than I am, Larry, but I really like this. I think it's something we should keep in front of us. I'll zip it.
Larry?
Yeah, Michael, I think you put your finger on the major problem right now, and that's the affordable housing. We put tools in our master plan when we had the consultant working with us that we haven't even looked at since then. It bothers me when I hear somebody say, my neighbors don't want that, so we're not going to do that, or I can't support that because my neighbors don't want it. That's not our job. We're on the planning commission to advise city council on what's good for the city, what's good planning. They're the ones that have to make the decisions on what the neighborhoods want. They make those decisions. I think we need to move forward with the affordable housing. I think the work that was done on the Overton site was good. The work that you, Michael, and Tim did on that, I think was a good first step. And you did come to us and ask us what we thought. And by the way, I said, if we always do what we've always done, the same thing you just quoted earlier tonight. Yeah, we need to change. We need to do something different. And I think that's the first part of looking at this report and making some changes. They're going to be hard, but we need to do it, just like we did tonight.
Okay, George?
Yeah, I'm glad Michael brought up the article that was in the newspaper, because I read that article, but I had a little bit different take on it. And it's related to tourism somewhat, but I think what has been going on is we've had very strong tourism in South Haven. And I believe that has, in combination with the current issue with the pandemic, people have realized that, you know, if I've got a good internet connection, I don't need to live in the city. I can live where other people go on vacation. And the article I read on Sunday, that kind of spoke to me, that and talking with people in my neighborhood, people have our tendency to coming over to South Haven to have a place that they can go to live, and not so much be a tourist, but to be part of the community. And it'll be interesting when we get the next numbers on short-term rentals, when those come out, because I'll be interested to see what the trend is showing in short-term rentals. I'm not sure that the increase in the median home price in South Haven is due to short-term rentals. That definitely can have an impact on it, but I'm not sure that's what we're seeing. I think it's hard to make a judgment because 2020 is such a unique year, but
it's 20 hours.
I think the efforts of the Visitors Bureau, the Tourism Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce to make South Haven an attractive place brings in tourism. But then I think a couple, maybe 3 years later, you'll see some of those former tourists come and actually invest in the community. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how when things kind of return to normal, what things look like.
I really appreciate that, George. I think part of what I miss coming from business and dealing now in the realm of government is I miss meaningful metrics, simple metrics that tell me a story. And the one metric I wish we looked at as a planning commission and took to heart is the number of permanent residents that live in the city. Not the number of second homeowners, not the numbers of business investments and short-term vacation rentals, but are we attracting people to move here, to become permanent residents? I think that is the ultimate measure about how well a government is performing. Are we building a place people want to live, or are we building a place that people want to visit?
Building a place people want to retire to.
Yeah, we're doing that.
According
And that's
to
not,
what- According to that, who was that? We had that study done by.
Upjohn Institute. Yep.
Upjohn, yeah. That's what that was showing.
Yep, our average age is pretty high up there.
Mhm. Janice, I see you had your hand up.
Yes, I really appreciate Mike bringing this forward because I saw it in a larger perspective. First of all, I think his argument is that we've been so reactive that we have not been proactive, and that's really our role. And this gives us an opportunity to at least examine that. And it says master planning for tourism in Michigan. I see it as a larger piece of community development. And tourism certainly is a piece of that. Housing certainly is a piece of that. What we do with our lakeshore certainly is a piece of that. So I think we are ready to be proactive rather than reactive. And I do think under the umbrella of community development, which is part of the tourism development, that we certainly can do that. I think we can be more comprehensive in that approach. And I really like how it spoke to collaboration and how we really needed to listen to each other's diverse perspectives and I understand that we all been involved in saying that and trying to do that in our various roles in the community. But I do think that this is the time. I really think that this is the moment for us to look at this seriously and to look at it as more of a community development piece. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, that was the piece, James. That was the piece I saw on bridging the tourism planning gap between Group X and Group Y. And I don't know how that happens in city government. I mean, we all have our silos, unfortunately. But how do we encourage? I mean, I quite frankly, just from a practical standpoint and a common sense standpoint, I don't understand why Planning Commission doesn't have joint meetings with City Council once in a while. I don't understand why the Harbor Commission and the Planning Commission don't talk to one another a bit more. You know, if we're all tied and aligned back to the master plan, we all have distinct pieces to play, but what one does affects the other. And I think we've got some work to do there in bridging X and Y. I don't know how that's done. I mean, I don't know how you can do that in city government. I sure know what I'd do in business. I'd haul us into a room and say, hey, we need to talk. But I don't know what the mechanism is.
Probably the one time all those groups do work together is every time we have to redo one of these master plans.
That's right,
they
yeah.
expire. So I
That's
would
true.
say they do work together, just not outside of that very often.
Yeah. See, I think, Tim, I think that's exactly right. And I worried when we did the master plan, you heard me say it, I worried it was going to become another binder on a shelf somewhere. But do we have any sense whether we've made any progress on those 25 goals? Are we measuring those? Are we talking about our plans to achieve those goals? Or are we just really cognizant that in 2.5 more years, we've got to do it again?
Well, probably one of the litmus tests would be to take council's yearly priority list and compare it to the master plan. And if it's
exactly.
matching up, then you know it is. But if it isn't, then what do you do from there?
Yeah.
You vote for new people or you go pressure them at one of the meetings. That's what you do.
Well, and again, I want to be really careful in talking about this because it's not meant to be a critique session. I think there are opportunities. I have told you individually, I love working on this commission. We don't agree on a lot of stuff, but boy, I sure do respect your point of views. I'm working with really smart people. And I just think we need to leverage that. I think that's true across our city government. And yet it just seems like, I mean, call me a geek, but I just read the economic strategy plan again. Jim Hedinger he's a saint. But I would guess I would go to a lot of city officials and ask them about the economic strategy plan, and most would go, huh? But it's important stuff. And what we do in land use and what we do in zoning impacts that economic strategy. So I don't know. It just seems like there's opportunity to talk about that and tie our work back to it.
Okay, any other comments? Any opinion on where we should go with it from here? And just on a side note, while you're thinking about that, Amy, I don't know if you were appointed to this board, I think it was after this magazine article came out, and what's the periodical called? MAP? Michigan
Planner, yeah.
Michigan Planner. Have you seen the article that Mike's referring to?
I have not, no.
Okay, so Mike, I have it too, but maybe you have it closer at hand. Maybe you can scan that article, or
I can. I've got the PDF that I can make available. The other thing you can do is in this agenda that's set on, all you got to do is hit that link. It'll take you right to it on the website.
Okay, I didn't notice that. I just
missed
want to
that
make
too.
sure everybody had a chance to read this article, and I think everybody receives that magazine.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to make that PDF available. I think it's a really good piece of work. The one possible action to consider, and I'm not advocating this, but part of that plan, or part of that, the article was the summary of the research efforts that the Michigan Association of Planning did, and in partnership with Michigan State University Extension Group, that they will come in and do an audit for you of your current economic value of your tourism, if you will. They'll do an inventory of your assets. They'll do an inventory of your what's called in this article the capacity, our carrying capacity, where we're at in terms of being able to support future tourism. So that's an action that we might want to take a look at some point. That says, should we engage Michigan State in that study? I don't know what it cost. I know some of you, there's a couple of us that think that Michigan State's probably the right people to go to, but a couple of you that thinks probably should be Michigan, but that's neither here nor there either.
Okay. So the point, or what I'm getting out of this is maybe everybody should read this a little more, do some more deep thinking and consideration. And our next meeting, we could talk about it again, or, a month or two from now, depending on how our workload is, maybe just have a workshop specific to that. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a workshop sounds good. I mean, I read through the materials through that PDF. It's pretty long, but condensed in sections. I didn't feel like they did a good job of. I mean, they have you wanting to talk about the non-tourism impact upon your city of tourism. And, more specifically, when we're talking about housing and how if a home is part of a tourism inventory, what could that be if it wasn't part of inventory tourism? Because I always hark that back to, is there two income earners who that income is then kind of lost to the community? Do the kids that go to school lost income to the school system? How many soccer coaches, how many people who attend a church? There's a lot more ramifications that sometimes get lost in that. But I didn't think that the materials put together really looked at some of that when it came to the balance, but there was a lot there. And I think having a chance to digest a little bit, talk a little bit about that, so the next time the master plan comes into effect, we look at that as a more robust thought process of planning for one of the economic tools that South Haven has to offer. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Rosalie.
I just want to kind of go back to what Janice said, you know, and the fact that, you know, we put a lot of effort in bringing people together around a master plan. Why do we have to wait for another master plan put together? I mean, what would be wrong with if we could either sponsor or facilitate or ask our council to facilitate, you know, bringing those same people around on a table and talking about it. I mean, you know, we got everybody's input and approval on the master plan. I think it's pretty robust. But why can't we maybe put everybody around the table and say, how are we doing? Is this a healthy community? I go back to something that I was part of. And we did bring the entire community together to see if we were a healthy community. And we weren't that healthy. And there's a lot of good models out there what a healthy community looks like, or community development, however you want to, you know, couch that term. It is a big workshop. It is bringing everybody from, you know, not only the Visitors Bureau and the Chamber and the council, but you're bringing the school in, and you're the police and the nonprofits and the Girl Scouts. I mean, you're literally facilitating a conversation about whether South Haven is healthy. And I respect everybody's opinions as well. I hear what everybody has to say, and they're all important. But until we dialogue, until we collaborate, we're just going to stay in the same silos. We're still going to, in 2.5 years, do the master plan, and it's still going to sit on the shelf. So I say, why don't we take a look at, or go to our council and say, let's facilitate this. This is important stuff. This is our town. Even like what Janet said with some of these other things. Yeah, there's state, there's county, there's all these different people talking at us. But at the end of the day, it's the people that live here should kind of evaluate and say, is this as healthy as we could be? I would love to do that. I think that's robust. I think that's showing some energy around who we are, what we want to be, using the tools that we have. And again, coming back to this really beautiful city. I know that Janet's a walker. I know that Clark's a runner and Mike's a walker, and every day.
Jogger.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're not a runner? A jogger?
No, I haven't earned runner status again yet. Working on it.
Oh, sorry. But, you know, let's do it. I know this is more work. I can hear your internal groans. But if we're serious about being a planner, then we should also be a catalyst to get going. So
just
I
as a
can see
reminder,
by your faces.
just as a follow-up on that, the master plan is good for how many years?
5.
5. And it's due to be looked at again in 2 years?
3.
3 years.
2.5.
Okay. So when you're talking about the master plan and looking at whether it was just sitting on the shelf or used, I would have to say it's used more often than not. There's a lot of documents that reference it, and grants, and just a myriad of things. So each time we go to do a new master plan, we have to sit down and look at the old one and see, do we need to change anything in it? So we already do that process. It's not like we don't, and you have to do it. And it's a 5-year period because, one, it takes a ton of time because you have to do a lot of public notices. It's a lot of money. It's quite expensive. I don't remember, Clark, maybe George, when you look at staff time, what's the master plan cost us? Do you remember any of those budget items? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think it was like $50,000, wasn't it? For master plan
It's
minimum?
expensive, you know. You know, those darn consultants.
Yeah, at a minimum, it might be more. I don't remember, but anyway, so I think that process is done. And two, right now, with all this startup and shutdown, we can't do any kind of real meaningful analysis of that because we are hindered right now because we can't get the public in a one's place. There is not the total amount of public input that we need. And until such time as there is, or if we can fill up our monitor with tons of people that can comment, that's a dangerous spot that I don't want to go. If we're talking about changing the master plan preemptively prior to its scheduled time. So.
But that's not what I meant, Tim, to do that. I meant not to move it up or even
we can't operate without a master plan though. That is
No,
the document.
Right. No,
So
I
in order
agree.
to change what you guys are talking about, you have to work on the master plan or amend it.
Not necessarily. That's not that, and I apologize if I wasn't making myself clear. I think that it wouldn't be horrible. I don't think there's any like legal things that would prevent us is to at least bring, at least talk to the 10 or 12 stakeholders to even present this idea to. I mean, it could take months and months and months and planning and all that. So I'm not, obviously we can't do anything now that's meaningful, but other than Zoom, and you're right, you don't want a screen full of, that's very hard to facilitate. But even ask the leaders to say, would it be beneficial if we could all sit around a table to talk about our community and find out that if it's healthy? I mean, give them the, set up the glossary of terms. So, we're not talking about, one specific things, but there's models out there where you pull people together and kind of assess it. Is planning heading in the right direction? Is the council, is the school district, is the hospital? We're not silos. We're a very small little town. I'm not talking about Chicago or anything so large. I'm talking about a town of 4,000 people. I think it's worth the effort, and and we're not amending anything. We're taking a look at the tools. Are we using them? Are we healthy? Are we all moving together? That's all. And that's what when I read these things, I obviously get very excited about it and I start going that direction. So may not be the purview of planning. Maybe it's just the purview of Rose. I don't know. I think that this is worth working on.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to lead us down a path like that got too broad here, but even to me, it was just the simple things. I mean, I had to learn what the Public Meetings Act was all about. I mean, it breaks my heart that I can't call Tim and at the same time conference, Rosalie and conference clerk, and oh my God, it just went to 3 people. I'm in violation of. We don't have ways we can talk to each other set up. And one of those things that really concerns me is that we don't talk to council. In my simple way of looking at things, we were appointed, we weren't elected. I worked for the council. That's the empowering body. So I'd like to have a chance to talk to them every once in a while and go, hey, how are we doing for you? How does this tie back to the direction that we set out in the master plan? I think we could do away with a lot of conflict if the commissions work closer together. And the last thing I want to do is get a whole bunch of conferences going. But there's got to be a way in city government to align our efforts better through better communication. Even if we could simply agree on a set of metrics that we're going to watch, that could get us all working around towards this is how we're contributing to our master plan, which, by the way, for the lack of having one formal, that is our vision for the city. And part of our work we do to support our government and our volunteer time here is paid off in knowing that we're making a positive contribution back to our community. And we ought to be able to measure that.
Okay. Well, I think everybody's had a chance to speak on this, and like I alluded to earlier, I think take a little time, do some deep thought on what you have in front of you. Next meeting, we'll look at it again, and I anticipate if there's still a desire, we'll schedule a workshop, and that'll answer your question you just asked, Mike, you know, with the Open Meetings Act. We can get the whole board together for a workshop and then talk about this in greater detail and then see which direction we'll go from there. And because everybody might have a different idea. And I know even between you and Rosalie, you seem like you're on the same page, but after listening to you, you both have a divergent plan in what I'm picking up. So, some further details for me would be great. Okay, so that's it for that.
Wonderful, thank you.
And where are we at with commission member and staff comments? Brad, Travis, anything? No?
No, nothing.
The only thing I've got for you is just another option to throw out there. Just Mike, as you were talking about the Open Meetings Act and how do we get together and discuss items? If there's an item that somebody or that a small group, even though the planning commission wants to drill into a little further, we can always use subcommittees as well if that's something that anybody's interested in. So if there's a specific topic or a specific portion of the master plan that you want to look into a little bit deeper, that's always an option as well.
Yeah, I could appoint, I've done this before. I think, who was the last committee? It was Todd and was it Rosalie or Mike? Yeah. So I do have the power as a chair to appoint special committees to look at items, but I think before I do it for this one, I want everybody to look at this material a little bit more, and we'll just do another review of it short next meeting, and I get a better idea who I should appoint to that committee and what direction it's trying to go. I don't have a good idea yet, but I appreciate Travis bringing that up. That's correct. That will be the next step after we have the January talk. Okay, so is that it for staff comments?
That's all I've got.
Okay, and I'm gonna call out on my screen, top left to right, and work my way down. Rosalie.
I just want to say thanks for the time, Mr. Chair, to have this conversation. I think it was a really great night. I'm really proud of our commission right now. So thank you. And I was just going to ask Clark a real quick question. Bear Park, somebody had asked me if how that was coming along and if that was ever going to be a dog park. I promised I would ask tonight. Do we know?
George.
I look out the window and see dogs running around all the time, which is just fine. I believe that it was provided to the city just as green space.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And I can just honestly say it's being used more this last summer than I've ever seen it. And I don't know if it was because of what was put in the newspaper and having it more formally, given back to the public. But the city took great job of taking care of it this summer, and it was used way more than I've ever seen it used.
Yeah, I agree. It's really nice. Thank you.
Michael.
Oh, just thanks for considering taking the time to do a little discussion around that. To me, it's about relationships, folks, and it's really hard for me to figure out how to get the proper relationships to make this city work in alignment. I learned about the city because I was fortunate enough to spend 5 days a week with Brian DeSutter next to me. So that's where I learned how to be a commissioner, during spin class. But, we don't have the opportunity to all meet like that. So I every once in a while I like to raise the issue and saying, isn't there a way we can better pursue this? And I sure enjoy working with you all. My term is one of the ones that's expiring this year. I'm sure that causes a certain amount of glee in some areas and a certain amount of despair in others, but we'll see where that goes.
Okay, Amy.
I don't have a lot of comments other than I'm really happy I was not in that spin class next to Brian because I think he would have killed me. However, I would love to chat to him 5 days a week, but not in spin class. No, I don't have any comments other than, yeah, Bear Park, I see it a lot, is looking fabulous. There's always people and dogs and kids, and it's fun. And I can't wait to see what it's going to look like in the winter.
Okay. George.
I thought it was a good meeting, and I thought we had some really good discussions. And I think that I'm looking forward to a time when we can get better input from people in the community, and as kind of like Rosalie was saying, trying to get people together and talk about how we see our city and what's the health of our city. And Tim, based on what you said, I'm looking forward in 1,000 years to having a lakefront property.
Stick around.
That's affordable.
Janice?
Oh, I just want to thank everyone for their thoughtful discussions tonight. I really do appreciate your remarks.
Okay. Appleback 2016, Todd?
Apple. Oh, sorry about that. I have to change my name. I was listening to these comments and remembering I found an old email from the late, great Betty Davis. This is from 2015, where she was encouraging me. And she said, you know, for mental health reasons, I had to stop talking about short-term rentals. I was just losing my mind. But she comforted me and said, you know, she thinks that 90% of South Haven voters who wrote or publicly spoke over the previous 2 years did not want short-term rentals in single-family residential neighborhoods. And I think that's true. I think if you go up and down your street and ask people, do you want a short-term rental next to you? They're going to say no. And I think that we should keep that in mind and have the courage to encourage our city council, our elected people, to say that out loud, that these businesses that are being run in our neighborhoods they push people out, they prevent people, they're not conducive to community, period. And I think we need to say it out loud, and I think we need to say it to our council people, and I think we need to constantly keep hammering away on the rental ordinance and try to make it more and more difficult for people to run businesses in single family residential neighborhoods. I know it's kind of a heavy way to end this, but thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Larry.
I look out my front window and I see a lot more people walking and a lot more dogs, and I'm not even near Bear Park. It's my front yard. But you know, we dealt with some pretty heavy things tonight, and I think we've got more of those kind of commission meetings coming up. So, but I'm proud of all of you. I think we've done a lot of, as a group, we've done some hard work, more to do, but we've done well tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Clark.
Yeah, we had some great topics tonight. It's good not to have a 9-0 vote every once in a while. So that was good to see. Also, the document was a lot of fun to read through. The link from MAP. They have quite a few different sections, so you don't have to, eat that thing at one setting, because each one of the writers kind of had an area that they went over. So you can do it over multiple nights, which is nice. And then just so everybody knows, this is empty. I really wasn't drinking and pretending that it was some hot liquid. Blow over your drink though, and then people will think it's coffee. So that's just kind of
I think it's wine. It's wine.
It's wine. That was it.
Okay. I got a few things. So, we dealt with the marijuana for city of South Haven, and I'm sure that's not done. So keep that in the back of your mind. But I know you all saw what happened in Oregon with drugs, and not that we'll be looking at that, but just think about the planning commissioners out that way having to deal with issues like that. That's insane. I'm looking forward to next month's, that's when we will receive the short-term rental report. And when it comes to short-term rental, and then we just heard what Todd had to say, I do have to caution everybody, and I don't know how much traveling you do. Have you been to any of the small towns that are similar in size of population as South Haven on the interior of this state? And compare them. Compare South Haven to a town 100 miles inland of the same size, and tell me if you think they'd benefit from some short-term rentals. So I'm not as hard on one side as I know a few of you are, but just keep that in mind. Those towns don't have a maritime museum. They don't have a Liberty Hyde Bailey museum. Their library doesn't compare to ours. There's just a lot of things that they're missing that we have. So sometimes you gotta take the good and the bad, and hopefully it all can be within a decent moderation, but just something I wanted to point out. After that, I want to thank everybody for their dedication and participation this year. I enjoy working with everybody, and hopefully next year be the same. There might be a few new faces, maybe not, we'll see, but hopefully everybody will stick around. With that, happy holidays, stay safe and healthy. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Clark. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
This is Todd. I'll second.
Is there any other discussion on the motion to adjourn? Seeing none, unfortunately, we have to do it the video way. Roll call, please, Marcia.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
He indicated yes, I believe. Thumbs up, Mike. You're
Nichols,
muted. Okay. Nichols?
Yes.
Placati,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Barney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. And with that, the December 3rd meeting is adjourned.